guys, Engiminer here with another tutorial. This time we're going to be looking at the melon farm. Clearly it's not that obvious from the front of this building, but this is in my Let's Play world, so it's all looking nice. You go in, pull the lever, you wait till it's pull the lever in, and we've got some melons. Jolly good. Now, it's all covered up here, so I'm not really going to open it up for you because it's on my Let's Play. So what I'll do is I'll meet you in test world and then we'll go through that then. Right then guys, we're back, and well, I'm just going to look at the melon to begin with, just like my other tutorials with the water and the redstone. First off, we're going to look through the basics around how it works, and then we're going to go on to apply the system and eventually to that tower, which is awesome, might I add. So then, first off, this is a melon block in the OCD pack. Yes, it isn't what the default texture pack looks like, but I find it's a lot easier to explain it from here. It's a lot clearer to see things. So first off, you have the melon stem. You plant it from melon seeds. You plant a melon seed there, and it will sit there like that, and when it grows, it'll just grow vertically. It does actually work still in the normal texture pack. It will grow vertically, and it will then join to some such block when it spawns. What happens is it will spawn a melon block on an adjacent solid block in this pattern here. So, for instance, the red block is where we have the melon stem, and the melons can spawn on any one of those 4 pads. Now, if we remove these pads and just take them out, then there's no option for it to spawn on these 2 pads, because they're not there. So what will happen is it will force the spawn onto one of the other 2. If you take away that one, it forces the spawn to occur here. Now, next off, we're going to look at having multiple melon stems and how they interact with each other. A melon stem will grow up and will attach itself to any adjacent pumpkin block. These here were actually positioned by placing pumpkin blocks next to fully grown stems. I will just demonstrate that if I find the block. I'll be back with you all when I've found the block. Right then guys, I must be blind, I just found the block, and here's a melon stem, and as you can see, if I plant a melon next to it, it attaches. Plant a melon next to it here again, it doesn't attach to a different one. However, I'll do that, it will attach. So it will attach to the first melon that goes next to it. When it's attached to a melon block, it will not grow another one. So because these 2 have attached to this melon block, they can't grow one here. Yeah? That one did change which it was attached to, but it will not just grow one. That'll be to do with north-south facing. Just how Minecraft works things out is why it switches. So, what'll happen in this scenario is a melon block will spawn either here or here, and as soon as that does, both of these stems become inactive and will be joined to a melon. That makes the most efficient way to store melons this. If you place them all horizontally, they will all be able to grow like that. If there's also a layer of solid blocks here, there's a chance that some of these melons won't spawn there and will spawn on these blocks instead. So in order to make sure that it goes exactly where you want, you can either have a row of water, or glass, or simply don't have a row of anything there at all, and that'll force that to occur. Of course, that's the most efficient way by hand. As far as I know, that isn't the most efficient way to do it mechanically. So, here is the conditions under which the block will and won't spawn because of blocks above it. If you have a solid block above a melon stem, it will not form a melon next to it. It can't grow one. It just doesn't work. However, if there's a block above where the melon would spawn, it can still spawn normally. It doesn't actually make a difference what's above here, only above here. So that's spawning them, what you can and can't do. This is particularly necessary for when we're trying to stack the farm, because of course it's a simple farm that you can make that just gets longer and longer. However, that's very space inefficient. It uses a load of materials that you don't need to use. So what we'll do is we'll build a stacking farm. Doesn't look very pretty, unless loads of redstone torches is your thing. And if it is, I'm sorry, I guess. But R1 will be building. I don't know why I just did that. Okay, R1 that we're building is stackable. In total it takes up a 7x7 footprint when you include the redstone wiring. It's almost definitely possible to do the redstone quicker, and so that it still fits in the 5x5 footprint. I just haven't had a look at that yet. I wanted to get this out soon, because pretty much as soon as I discovered how to do this on my own, and thought about how to do it, I'll just replace this, and got up a draft for the tutorial, someone had already posted it on YouTube. That irritated me a bit, but it happened. So first off, I will look at the most basic spawn pad that's out at the moment. I know for a fact that Xisuma Void uses it in his Hermitcraft Let's Play series, or at the very least that's the one that he started to build, if it's not still the one he uses now. So the premise is you place a melon seed here and a melon seed in the opposite corner, and it can spawn a melon on either one of these two pads. Once that happens, it won't spawn another one, and you'll get 2 melons per level. Next thing that happens is you've got your pistons, which will break the block wherever it is. So if it spawns there, this piston will break it, but if it spawns here, this piston will break it. This saves on melon seeds instead of having a melon seed placed there and there, because there's no need to do that, because as soon as you place one here, it'll stop these two spawning, and if you place one here, it'll stop these two spawning as soon as that happens. You will still only get 2 seeds. So by removing those, you can actually cause the farm to stack smaller, and thus save space, and get more in for your levels. So I will now go through and build the next level up, and I'll explain how we do this. First off, in order to get the smallest possible farm, you want to be placing a block on top of where the melons will spawn. This is because, of course, it doesn't make a difference when you do that. However, it does make a difference if I was to place a block here. That would stop the melons on the layer below from spawning. So we don't do that, and we put it here, where we've got the gap, and we place 2 spawning pads on either side, so that it can spawn melons wherever it wants. We do the same for this side, and you see we get this shape here. I don't know what to call it, it's sort of like a diamond, but not really, sort of like 2 arrows. There you go, 2 arrows. And if you see from the next one, I'll build another layer on top of it, so you can see it's actually pointing in the other direction to the previous layer. Oh my word, I can't do creative mode right now. There you go. I can't fly. Anyway, you see the yellow arrows seem to point up and down from now, and then the red arrow points from left to right. This makes it the smallest possible farm, as this block here, a melon seed here, can still grow because it's got nothing above it here, and then same with this melon seed down here, it can still grow. This allows you to grow 2 pumpkins every two pumpkins or melons, sorry, I meant melons, but this whole tutorial system still works for pumpkins, because they spawn in the same way that melons do, just with a different seed. So, you do this, and you get 2 melons or pumpkins per level. Every level requires 6 earth, or soil, or whatever. Melons don't have to spawn on soil, but there's no reason to use anything else, because it's easy to get. So that uses 6, not including the stuff you'll need for the pistons. You'll need 4 pistons for every 2 blocks. Makes it quite an inefficient design in terms of pistons. They don't need to be sticky pistons, which is useful, because of course using sticky pistons needs you to go slime farming, and you can't always do that straight off the bat, so that's that. If you've got melons, chances are... oh, damn it. If you've got melons, chances are you've actually found a dungeon. Well, you have to have done, because it's the only way to get melons. And if you've done that, then chances are you'll have a load of iron, which is brilliant. So, this is my system that I've designed that's more efficient. It uses fewer pistons, it uses less space vertically. It has the same footprint on the ground. I'm just going to go over here, where you can see these lovely wool blocks, and demonstrate how the system works. So first off, this is the current system, 2 melons every 2 blocks, and here is mine. What I've done is I've used light green wool to indicate 1 spawning pad level, yellow wool to indicate the next, and then light green wool to indicate the layer after that. What this does is this will spawn 2 on the green, 2 on the yellow, 2 on the green. This system will spawn 2 on the green, then 2 on the yellow, and when you put more layers above, it'll spawn 2 on those. So firstly what happens is you place melon seeds where the red blocks are, and as you can see already, it forces the spawns to happen on their respective colour block. So this melon seed would be on a yellow block, so it forces it to occur on the other yellow block. Same happens for these green ones. And a melon seed here cannot interact with a melon on top of here, so that's really useful. So instantly we've now got 4 pumpkins or melons. I keep saying pumpkins, that's really stupid. Anyway, 4 melons in 2 levels, whereas the old system used to need 4 levels to get 4 pumpkins. Now it isn't quite as efficient as 4 pumpkins in 2 levels, because of course in order to stack you actually need to leave a gap, but as soon as you've gotten that, then you've really got an efficient farm. So what I'll do is I'll build the next 2 layers and I'll explain where they go and why, and then I will show you the bigger farm where I've just expanded it up and attached some pistons. So first off, you put a block where the melon would be. It's normally a good idea to build your tower without the seeds in place and then put the seeds in later, because really you might fall on the seeds and you'll break it, and then or a melon might spawn and you don't want a melon in the way while you're trying to build. So this red block simulates where the melon would be, so we'll place a block on top of that, as that's the most efficient position. Now we can't place another green block here, because that would stop a melon from spawning. However, we can place it here, as it will allow 1 air block above that melon seed, so that will work. So we'll do the same on the other side. Even in creative mode, I don't like flying, I tend to fall over. I shouldn't do that. Tend to fall off things, and I feel stupid. So, the next step is, of course, we can't have a block here, however we can have one just there. And the same goes for this side. We can't have a block there on the end, but we can have it there. Now, in order just to complete the pattern we've got from the layer below, we'll place 1 block here, and 1 block here, and then as you can see from the base layer, we have once again got 4 spawning pads. So, I'll just fly off and show you that these are in fact the same height, and in this design, once you've got all of your melons that you can possibly have spawned, you will in fact get, oh, mental maths, come on, I can do it, you will in fact get 6 pumpkins or melons, and with this system you have 2 layers of my system, which will actually give you 8. So immediately, in the same height, I've gone from 6 to 8. It's brilliant. That's a 33% efficiency boost. In terms of piston uses, I'll just lay red blocks where the pistons would have to go in both designs. With this design, it's quite simple where the pistons go. It's very, very obvious. They go in 4 cardinal directions so that you're not breaking your melon seeds. By cardinal directions I do mean north, east, south, west, or if you're actually thinking about F1, 2, 3, 0. So in this design you can see we use 12 pistons, and in this design we actually use half the number, because we use 1 piston per melon. We ignore any potential blocks, and so what we do is in the same height, instead of 12 pistons, I am now in fact using 8. So not only do I get more melons in a smaller space, I use fewer pistons, which of course is a bonus, as you can tell. The only big fallback with this design I've found is actually this gap here, which you can in fact fill in on each side. I fill it in with glass on my design. Effectively what happens with this design, if you close all the pistons at the same time, there becomes a single tube through which nothing can fall down the sides. With this design, however, things can fall down the sides, because if I place it here and here, I'll actually put netherrack where the piston heads will be, to show you what the blocked off tube looks like from the inside. and then there. So we go down, most of it's blocked off, except there are these gaps. So all you need to do, and it doesn't affect the way the farm works, is you just place 2 blocks of any variety. It really doesn't matter what kind of block you place. I've used netherrack because I just happen to have it on my toolbar. If you really wanted, you could place pumpkins or melons and have a really cool melon farm with excess melons. This of course is pointless and a waste of your resources, so something you can get easily that doesn't look too bad is probably a benefit. I actually quite like the look of this in Technicolors, so I may consider doing that later. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll have a look at the real system, and then I'll show you some of the redstone wiring that I've got already going, and then that'll be that. So what we've got is we've got this just set up like normal, and I haven't actually placed the blocks. Oh no, this is a less efficient form of the previous farm. Using the same system, what happens is, oh, it's exactly as efficient, I lied. All it means is instead of having a 2 gap and no gap on one side, in this case you've got 1 gap above each of the melons on all of the sides. So don't worry if you've made my farm and you can't work out why your stacking doesn't seem to be working. You really don't worry about it, because sometimes I've done the stacks and they've come out like this, and sometimes I've done them and they've come out like that. Both of them are exactly as efficient, they use exactly the same number of resources, they're just slightly different laid out. For this system, redstone wiring may be a little more complicated. You may need some actual redstone as opposed to just torches I've managed to wire this up with, but other than that it's not an issue, so don't worry if it doesn't seem to work quite right, because it will do. Okay, we'll just have a look at this. I've exactly done what I did for my stackle farms, except I've got dirt in between the pistons. I've now put the pistons in, and as you can see with the design where you've got a block exactly on top of the melon, you get a gap of 3, then a gap of 1, gap of 3, and a gap of 1 for your pistons. This isn't an issue, your whole system still works perfectly fine, it just makes the redstone a little different. So what happened is, first off, I applied a charge into a NOT gate. This is the easiest bit I find, and the way I work it out is you apply the NOT gate, and then all you've got to do is get the next torch to be off, and then you've done it right. So for the single gap, you need to have a double knot in order to get that, and the only way to get a double knot in a single jump is to go off to the side. So I did that, and the way I knew it was right is as soon as you place this torch, the piston will pulse and extract back in as soon as that happens. The reason it does this is that Minecraft assumes that a torch will be on as soon as you place it, so it places the torch and then realises it should be off. So there is a tiny delay in that, but it means that you know you've done it right, because you'll hear a double piston sound instead of just the piston extracting, and your torch will go back off. So next one is to go up 3, and this one's probably the easiest. In order to do that, you just NOT gate and NOT gate again, do it all vertically, exactly how you would propagate charge straight up anyway. Now next is you just got to do it again. You've got to propagate charge in a single jump, so you go to the side, then you do it vertically, then you go to the side, and then vertically again. It's very easy, and really does require so little thought, it's ludicrous. So now that's it really. What I'll show you is what at the moment I've got is this, because in this system I didn't want to use bone meal, just because you might not have it. You may have, yes, found melons, but you may not have bone meal. So what you do is you place a source block up the top. It's quite simple. You place a source block, and because water, see my water tutorial, you know water will take the easiest path down. So by placing the source block here, what will happen is it will flow straight down, and it will ignore the fact that it can escape here. It simply won't do it, because it's not the easiest way. So it flows all the way down, and then you get to the bottom. So from the bottom, all I've done here is placed a sign which stops this flow of water, but items will come through. I've used a sign as opposed to a ladder or a trap door or anything else, or vines, because it doesn't have a collision mask, which means no items can get caught on the top of the sign, they'll just fall straight through. Next I've just placed a source block off to the side, and they'll carry them to me. Xisuma runs a similar system already in his farm, so it's not a difficult system. It's water. I have my tutorial out, I will link that in the description, but that's that. So now what I'll do is I will testify out 50% of my farm. Note it's only half of it because I've not wired up the other two sides, and because of that there will be melons that we lose, because the pistons will push it into a space where there would be a piston head, but that doesn't really matter because I'm on creative, so it's not the end of my life. So we'll pull the lever. As you can see, all of the pistons go. There is a small delay with them, so the taller you make this, the more noise it will make, because every NOT gate has a tick delay, and then you turn it back off and all of the pistons retract. So yeah, and then we come down here and we've got a load of melon stuck in the water. What you may want to do is, if you don't like colliding with water, you could put a pressure plate here. Or if you dislike the clicking noise, you can always put a sign or a fence gate or whatever, and that will stop the water, but it won't stop your items, so it'll allow you to stand. If I place that here, it'll allow you to have stairs here, for instance, and you'll come down and you'll stand here, and you could wire up your lever to be here or somewhere, pull the lever, and it all comes down and collects on you, which is easy. So yeah, that's that. So in terms of the amount of stuff you'll have to use, each of my farms, when you make a layer, it's just over 30% more melons for your space, and you actually use half the number of pistons per melon. Note that's per melon, not per layer. In a layer of 2, you use 4 pistons here. In a layer of 3, technically, you do use 4 pistons, because there has to be this gap. There is a gap wasted. It's not very easy to see here, because in each of these it's a half gap, but in this it's easier to see. There is a full space that you can't use. That does, however, mean in a 20 tall tower, for instance, the numbers just happen to perfectly align, and in the old system you will get 20 melons in 20 layers, and in my system you will get 40, because the very top layer, of course, doesn't need a gap, because it's the very top layer. I would suggest building some kind of dome over the top of it, because of course when you break the melons, some of the melon blocks will go straight up, and if you encase the system, making sure you probably want to use glass or something, because it counts as a translucent block, or half slabs or something that won't stop your melons from spawning, and then job's a good one. So that's me with my melon farm. I say that's it really. I'll release possibly a tutorial where I actually go through step by step and create this. If you want that, just let me know. Comment, like, subscribe and all that jazz.